conference will now be recorded.
It's green. It starts green. Just like something. Write something with your finger on one of those tabs.
Oh my God, I know. It's like you're in second grade.
We're 38 those. That's the 3/8 by 38.
Last night I was playing something on my iPad.
Just
And it wasn't reading my
any fitting,
finger.
no.
It was very
What I'm
frustrating.
gonna do is I'm gonna get a
I was trying to play a game.
single jack fitting. Just because sometimes they'll break down on the side.
Don, you want to sit up here?
It's so
Well, it's on one of us has one, then-
You want to sit in this seat? I'll sit over there.
Nope.
I'm
Hard enough.
Yeah, he orders 3 or 4 at a time, keeps them all. I'll tell you what, I'll just get them all and I'll have them. That's fine. And
You
then-
just want to start?
Yeah.
No, you don't want to start?
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
we
so
would.
you need a
Okay.
plank straight up over.
Yeah.
Okay, then I can pick up the clothes, I can go back to Marty, and then I'll just buy it and I'll have it.
Thank you all for coming. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Start by asking the board if they have anything they would like to say at the onset.
Can't think of anything.
Thanks for coming. Thank you for coming, everyone.
If anyone would like a Wilmington, yes, I agree. Thank you all for coming. If anyone would like a Wilmington sticker or a Wilmington pendant, they're free for the taking. Also, there are surveys. It would be great if people filled out the surveys, and that box is for you to put your finished survey in. The surveys themselves are to the left of the box. I hope we get some questions tonight or some feedback tonight about what you would like us to work on as far as public projects along the lines of dredging the river or a skating pavilion, more bike lanes, or other ideas. We're looking for other ideas that we haven't thought of. And then in a similar vein, I hope we get some feedback about what you see as the biggest issues in town that you would like us to focus on. Over the years, I've heard a lot about speeding, some of the development, some of the projects. There've been a lot of complaints and concern about them. Property taxes, perennial concern. So I'd be very glad to hear what your greatest concerns are. But this is a time for you to ask us anything you like or tell us anything you like. So just raise your hand and I'll call on you. Please.
George Trachtenberg. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on dredging the river. We live on the river. We have no river anymore. I think it goes beyond a personal desire. I think ultimately it could affect the beach. I think it could affect tourism. People canoe, go past our place, get stuck, have to get out, walk and carry their canoes with them. So I'm wondering where that might sit on the list of priorities or thoughts from your perspective.
Fix. And I believe I know where you live, or approximately, and you live fairly close to the center of town where one would expect the water to be deep. Maybe I'm incorrect about that, but.
Yeah, we're almost directly across from the beach.
Okay, got it.
Directly across, yeah. So,
Um,
I think we're right behind where you might live.
you are.
Yeah.
If anyone else on the board has anything to say?
There was a feasibility study done, and I think that was a couple years ago with some numbers that were thrown out that were in the millions, I believe. And, it would be a lot of funding. Certainly we could look into grants. I'm sure that the what's the name of the place on the corner? They changed the name. That's why I can't remember the name of it. Near the Candyman. Freshwater, the Stable Freshwater Association. I believe that we could look into working with them, but I don't know. That's the extent of my knowledge on that.
Yeah, I know that there was a study about 12 years ago. I have that study. I have the more recent study. I talked to Roy Holzer about it when he was, all of a sudden he had me with meetings with the Osage River Association. And so I know that it's not an impossible thing. One of my thoughts is, and I understand it would take grants. I've often wondered if Wilmington was thought about trying to find a grant writer, because that's a tremendously important function if we're going to make progress.
We are going to try to find a grant writer. I talked to the county manager about that on Monday, and he said that we can use bed tax money to fund that position. And we do have a lot of unspent bed tax money from the past approximately 5 years. So I think the whole board agrees that what we get back in grants will be much more than what we spend for that position.
Does the board have any personal thoughts about dredging the river and the importance to Wilmington?
I think it's very important to get it dredged, really. And there are grants available because they were dredging or digging out the river in Upper J, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. And
That was for flood control. That wasn't
well, yeah,
the same thing.
yeah, but they wouldn't let them do that when the land make believe was in operation. And all of a
They
sudden
wouldn't.
now they can.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
I mean, if you can get a grant to do that, I don't know why you can't get a grant to do this, really.
So are there thoughts to create a momentum in this direction?
Yes. Well, yes. What I've said for the past 6 or 7 months is that we want to find out what the community's #1 priorities are, or top 2 or 3 priorities are, and then we'll act accordingly. Obviously, this is a high priority. The thing is, unlike we can build a skating pavilion in a year for a few $100,000 or less. That's not the case for dredging the river. So it's more of a long-term, very expensive project. Roy's perspective on it was that we should do it in stages, which is valid. But I guess I don't have that much more to say other than we know it's a priority. It's definitely something we do hear about and have been hearing about for years, and something the town's been thinking about for 16 years at least. That study was from 2010, the one that I have. And even in 2010, it was thought to be too expensive then. So, right.
The longer we wait, though, the more it's gonna cost, because nothing is gonna go down, I don't believe, anyways.
That's definitely, and the requirements will not go down either. It's not as simple as dredging the river. I mean, the number of permits that we'll have to get to do it, and the
studies that have to be done. And you can't use the past studies, you've got to do a new one.
I swear we had somebody looking into that.
we do. And that's another thing I thought it was very odd. We have received a grant to study where the sediment is coming from. To me, that's very odd, because what does it matter where it's coming from?
That's
Well,
the
I
way
mean,
the government works, though. You
That's what I was
get
told when I said
demands
this
for the
3 years ago.
silliest studies.
Right.
I'd
Or
have
if they
to
give
guess
us the
up-
money, we could do it.
Upstream, maybe? Okay.
Right.
That's what I would
It's
guess,
coming
yeah.
from upstream.
Yeah.
So. Right, and that's when I said what I said 3 years ago, that was the response, is we have to do this. So I said, okay, if we have to do it, we have to do it. And I don't know where that is in that process. I haven't received any results, or I don't know much more about it than we've approved it, and I believe the Osable Freshwater Association got the grant to do it. I don't know where it is in the process at this point.
Just to another point is, if you ever would like to come over and look at it from a standpoint directly from my backyard, you'll see a perspective that you cannot see from any place else.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you. Is that for the whole board?
Yeah.
Okay. I know Randy has been bringing this up since the start of, well, you've been bringing it up for at least 2 years as something that the town should be focused on.
Right.
Yep.
I remember as a kid, there used to be, 20, 40 people lined up on the bridge to jump off the bridge. I mean, try that now, but not really.
No, don't do it now. You'd be dead.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a very popular thing for the kids to do in the summer. And to my knowledge, nobody ever got hurt. But now, I mean, things have changed so much in 30, 40 years, it's unreal how fast it can actually change from what it was back when I was a kid.
Thank you.
I wonder if keeping the splashboards down longer in the spring would be helpful.
No, because it builds up on the bottom of the dam. There was already a study done there.
Good.
The dam should have somewhere in your office, it's probably there. It was done when Jeannie was here. And what we would have had to do is have things cut in the bottom so that the water went out through there.
Right.
And it would have taken the silt down through, but it's just built up over the ages. Right there. And the gate originally, when they changed the gate the first time around, they put in the wrong size gate. That made more silt. They left sandbags in around there, and that made more. Then they changed the size of the gate. Supposedly it would improve it somewhat. But it was explained to me when I first got on the board that what they tell you sometimes, because I came on right after they had done that, that sometimes what works on paper doesn't work in reality.
The river has been dredged in the past, correct? In decades past?
And back when I was a kid,
Okay,
they used to go in with the machines in the spring of the year. They do it first thing in the morning, or when I was a teenager, not a kid, I was a teenager. I'd be walking to work and I'd stop and watch them do that, but they did it very early in the day.
that was the town highway department?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they
Wouldn't
did
get
it,
away with that now.
right. Was that prior to the establishment of the APA?
It sure was.
Yes, it's, as we're all learning every single day, the highway department, everything, it seems like it should be straightforward, or a lot of these things seem like they should be straightforward. They're anything but, due to the levels of complexity and bureaucracy and, right.
Government seems to get more and more involved every year, it seems like, in one sense or another. If it's not the federal, it's a state. If it's not the state, it's the federal. I mean, they have control of pretty much everything that people do. And I don't know.
A lot of these ideas were well intentioned and they seem like they make sense on paper. And then 10 years later in Wilmington, we're just filling out forms to fill out forms because we have to fill out these forms. But no one puts any thought into any of, we're just getting them done as quickly as we can. And they're just more paperwork. It makes, you can see why it made sense at one time, but some of these things don't seem to. The other thing is a lot of these things are done for towns much larger than Wilmington. And we're held to the same standards as every other town. But that, none of that necessarily has to None of that necessarily relates to dredging the river. I'm just commenting, I suppose.
George, Tim or I can reach out to, check on the progress of that. We can bring that to the next meeting if that's helpful. At least we'll have some update for the town.
Yeah, there seems to be some reasonable discussions going on. We had with the Sable River Association,
Mhm.
and Roy expressed an interest, but then it just seemed to die after that. Lost the momentum.
No problem.
Now, sort of underlying some of this as well is my fear is what the results of the study are going to be is you have to take out the dam. That is what a lot of environmental groups want. That's what they're pushing for. That's what happened in Osable Forks recently. I would not be a bit surprised if the result of this study is take out the dam. So
That's certainly what it looked like when I was at the planning board thing. You were at the other session, but at the session that,
Right, I didn't go to that
right,
part.
where she was talking and there, it's one dam after another, it's taken down, and the idea is to improve the natural flow of the river.
River's not gonna be a river if they take down the dam.
Well, for us, it won't feel like a river. It will feel like, certainly what you see when you drive by, to get off the board. But
Why do you say it won't be a river?
Because, well, it'll be a river, but it won't be what we call a river.
Right.
It's going to be like.
There will not be a Lake Everest, right? There's not gonna be a
The
pool.
water's not gonna be as wide.
There won't be a pool of water.
right.
Yeah, it
Think
won't
of
be
an
held back
alternative,
at all.
which would be to, have a town park that was a quarter mile from the river that we created a lake in. That would be a one-time only dredging, hopefully, or one dredging but make a 15-foot deep type lake. And that might actually be cheaper and less of a hassle than trying to negotiate the constant dredging of the river. It's just an idea. I mean, but, and that's a town lake, and we could really say it's a town lake. You have, you're a resident to go. And people who are not residents have to pay a visitor's fee or whatever. But it would begin it, established as, a part of the town. That helps create a sort of sense of townness.
Make a man-made lake, there's lots of rules and regulations and a lot of paperwork.
I know, I've been looking it up, and actually, it's not that ominous. I mean, it's less ominous than the dredging of the river, which is a natural resource. It's weird, but yeah, as long as you're a quarter of a mile away from the river, that's really key.
They did the one in the Osable Acres,
Right, and that one.
decades ago.
Yeah, decades ago, and it has really
Like Eaton or
fallen into,
something.
they put it away
It
to
was
the beavers.
before the APA.
Right.
Say it again.
They gave it away. They actually they stopped dredging it and gave it away to beavers. But I don't think that they ever really, I mean, I don't think that it was ever really that used at least for the people I know that live in acres now. The idea is that once in a while, they'll do fireworks, it's there for the town meetings and things like that, but they don't really use it ever thinking about swimming or water sports.
Who's gonna make us take the dam out? If we,
I don't think anyone's going to make us take the dam out, but the Osable Freshwater Association is doing this study, or they paid for this study. And my fear or my suspicion, hopefully I'm wrong, I'm not certain about this by any means, but I kind of have the hunch that that's going to be the result of
I
the
think
study.
more than a hunch.
but
Really,
The
really,
hunch.
given what
will
she
we
was
have to
saying
take it
about.
out? What's the authority saying we have to take it out?
No, there won't be any authority saying we have to take it out, but it's going to be,
a
there wouldn't be any authority saying we have to take it out.
So we leave it up, what's the big deal?
The point of this study was, there is no big deal, but all it will mean is we've wasted another 5 years. Because we're going through this path that we are apparently supposed to go down. that we have to do this study to get grants to dredge the river. And then if the result of the study is take the dam out, I don't think that's going to help us get grants to dredge the river. There's no one's going to make us take it out, but, and
But to get the grants, we'll have to take it out, is what you're saying. Implying.
it's not, no,
I'm
No,
sorry, I'm
no, that's not-
missing the point.
that's
It's
not,
gonna be their suggestion that we remove it.
Right.
I guess,
It's not gonna get the backing by the EPA to move ahead on dredging.
the point is that we'll have wasted another 4 years. Is the
Because
point.
that's how long the study takes, or?
I think we voted for it. You weren't on the town board when we voted for
I
it.
think I was.
You were.
Yeah.
No, Roy was supervisor.
I wasn't. I remember hearing it. I probably was in attendance. My brain voted for it.
Yeah, so that's, the point is that this study that we've spent several years on waiting for the results of to get grants, this study may not actually accomplish what we were told why we're commissioning this study. That's the point. But I must say, I am by no means confident that that will be the result of the study. It's just kind of a hunch. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it didn't say that. So,
So who has to approve the dredging, the APA or state?
Both.
What?
Both.
I
We've
think
looked into it a couple different times.
if we want to get money to help pay for the dredging, because it's so expensive, is what we're talking about. Otherwise, we should just do it.
Jeannie looked at it, Randy looked at it.
There's permits you have to get though.
There's
Even
a
if you're
lot of
gonna do it
permits you have to get. There's a lot of permits you have to get. And what happens is by the time you get to where you need to be, because the town doesn't have lots of money, they want you to do the damn study, the study over again, because they consider it outdated.
The dam.
Yes.
I think they just do it so it's a never ending process that
That's what I
you don't
thought it would be.
accomplish nothing, and that's what they want
The
done.
town of Wells managed to do it for partial, and Randy was looking into doing partials, because digging it out in a few places would take less money than dredging the whole river. But, like I said, by the time you get going to where you need to be, they want you to start over from the beginning again, because your study's outdated.
Mhm.
what would your recommendation? You're the most seasoned town official in the room. Do you have? Please share any thoughts or recommendations you have.
We, like I said, we looked into what it would take for the dam to do itself naturally, and that was pretty much cutting the holes out on both sides. There were supposed to be 2 gates, one on each side. That could have worked, okay? But the other scenario was the cleaning things, and I don't have the paperwork from that stuff anymore. You might have it in your office. You put in these cleaning things and you open up the bottoms instead of opening up the tops. And that sends all the sand down through. And the theory is once it gets down there, it just keeps going. But, yeah, we've looked into it a couple of different times, really intense.
And the result of the investigation in 2010 was that it wasn't feasible, or that it was too expensive,
I
or?
think 2010, was Randy here then?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the money, and there wasn't any money out there at that time. And they wanted us to start over from square one again. They didn't want to use the stuff that Jeannie had already gotten done. And there were several river grants done. It's a vicious circle.
Was that before the Yellow Sable River Association was developed? Because they're a fairly new company.
They were there for one of them. They actually went out in the river with a whole bunch of people and took sediments out of the river to find out, make sure there were no contaminants. And they did from the dam to just below the beach. And they spent, I think, 2 weekends doing that. And they found out, luckily for us, because there have been factories and stuff on this river way back when, there was nothing there that was considered a contaminant.
They were under a different name. They assumed a different name. I
They've
think
been functioning since '98.
Yeah.
Okay.
they just recently, yeah.
Okay.
They rebranded.
I think there was one before then.
Dave, please.
What about including a hydroelectric generator in the dam, which would open up more of the dam? And the state might be willing to give us money related to that.
It's a really good idea.
I think NICEAG owns the right to store a dam.
Hmm?
I think NICEAG owns the energy right to store a dam. I could be wrong, but it,
Well, they already own us, so.
they sure do.
And they're gonna get more out of this all the time. They're taking the
They
flex.
just got another raise.
Yeah, and they're gonna get 2 more.
No, that's a great idea because that's kind of a kill two birds with one stone scenario where and there is, I believe, a lot of money for, renewable energy.
It seems like Chris Gill kind of looked into that years ago. I don't really,
Yeah, he was gonna
Remember
put one over
exactly,
in Black
but-
Brook too.
yeah.
It didn't pan the way he thought it was done.
Oh, he has one in Blackbrook, it works really good. the one in
Oh, does it?
Blackbrook. Oh, yeah.
I think there's,
And I
one-
think it was NICEAG that stopped him from doing the work down here. That was back when the Macy was,
Probably
Yes.
because they would
And
be
that's-
losing money,
that's where I was thinking that NICEAG owns the rights to the dam here.
there is one in Franklin Falls, but I don't know.
It still runs.
It's not NICEAG. I can't remember.
Niagara Mohawk
Okay.
maybe.
National Grid?
National Grid, I believe. That's what that power company is on,
Is that hydroelectric there?
Union Falls, I believe.
Right. Now that you mention it.
There's a
Just
big,
before
big,
you cross the
you
bridge.
know,
Right.
I think that it is an energy power
Mhm.
generator, energy generator.
That'll be a
But,
really good way to go.
yeah, I think there is one in Union Falls too.
Dawn, when you talk about contamination, what kind of contamination do you mean?
Chemical contamination. Rusty Mulvey would be one to ask exactly what the names are of the stuff he was worried about when we did it. He was on board then.
Mercury, PCB,
PCBs was one of it.
industrial waste.
Yeah, industrial waste, because they used to have a mill and stuff on the river way back when. And then stuff washing down from Placid and Saranac Lake feeds in there. But we were lucky, we didn't have any. Or enough sludge just covered it all over and they didn't dig that deep.
I do have another project for the town, and it's really my project because I've been here for about 12 years, and I think everybody considers me an outsider because, I'm not part of the traditional Wilmington or whatever. But I consider the town the whole loop in that picture, and I believe the best bang for the buck for our town is to close the loop completely on the running path with the walking path. The sidewalk that is 3/4 of the way done, but not finished. That's like almost pregnant or something. It's not done. And it wouldn't take that much to finish it, with the exception of trying to cross the river there. I'm gonna avoid that one right now, because we gotta cross the bridge up near the Hungry Trout. But I believe if we have a hard path, a bike path or walking path that goes all the way around our town, all of those 4 corners there, that it would connect all the Airbnbs, all the camping sites, and all the restaurants in our town as one. And not only that, but it would be a great event if you ever came to Wilmington. If you didn't really want to go skiing, jumping off the cliffs, do the crazy stuff, you could say, well, I'm just going to walk around the block. It's 5.2 miles. I call it the Wilmington Mile, but it's something that we can do. It's very cheap. Maybe the county can do half of it because it's their, off ramp. It's basically from the campground to the hungry trout that needs to be lightly landscaped and maybe paved, or I'm not sure what it is. But I believe it's the biggest bang for the buck that this town can do. And I think it could unite the town because it would bring people down into the town to go around our circle. If you go to Lake Placid, almost any time, you find people walking around that little pathway. Because it's something to do if you're not athletic, you know, and all that stuff. We have a lot.
Walking the dog.
Walking the dog, it's getting the baby in the baby carriage, and you can go all the way around while somebody else is climbing the mountain, you know, and that kind of stuff. And you can feel like you had a huge accomplishment and stuff. I think it's a no-brainer, and we do it half-ass a little bit because we do have the 10-mile race, and I don't want to really compete with it. But that is that loop plus a little spurs just to get the 10 kilometers, you know. And I don't, but I think we can be Wilmington, and I think it can get done. And I think if you would find that the campers then would go to the other restaurants along that loop because you can walk to it versus having to get in the car, or you get on your bikes with the kids and you can go to the Hungry Trout, or you can go to Upper Creek or the Whiteface Chalet, or you can just exercise going around. It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, and I would love to be part of the group that pushes for it, you know. And I've been to 2 different planning meetings on specific properties that it would affect, and said they force those people to put in a sidewalk. And it was always, we can't do that. That's not in our power to do. But maybe if we change the laws, the planning laws, I'm not sure how it's done, you know, but I do know Steinhoff's is coming up. That's an area where that has to be done. I know my house next to that, it has to be done. And, you know, I think it's just a matter of getting the people who are on that area. Maybe they can contribute, maybe it's a town thing. But I just know that it would be a tonic for the town and the commercial part of the town if it was done. And it might seem like a little thing in terms of, oh, it's just 3/4 of a mile bike ride, really, you know, but it's not done. So you have to turn around at the Hungry Trout and run back to town the way you came, or something like that. So that is my peace of mind.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Laura,
We only budgeted 10,000, but we do have money set aside for sidewalks in our budget. And it is something that we can utilize bed tax money for. So that is something that we could look into. Certainly. It is a lot of maintenance to maintain them, and it would fall on our, it is a highway managed part of the roadway, but our town parks department does the upkeep of the sidewalks as far as clearing and sweeping and that kind of thing. So that is something we should factor in as well.
I understand the maintenance. I think you could keep the exact same maintenance on the existing sidewalk and not have to go all the way around if you didn't want to, or somebody could. But yeah, that is an issue. If you wanted to keep the sidewalks 100% clear in the winter, it would be. But I think, you know, for 10 months out of the year, maybe 8, it'll be clear, you know. I don't know how this gets done though. I'm new in government and new in the whole thing. You know, I figure a new administration, give them a topic, you know, and that stuff. But like I said, I've been through 2 supervisors with this. I haven't pushed hard, and but I think it's time to push in that direction because the town has already spent a lot of money and effort and planning and everything, and everybody outside of our town loves it and says, oh, Wilmington they don't talk, they actually did it. they're referring to our path that we did. I've heard that a couple of times from Lake Placid people, but we haven't finished it, so we need to make an effort, push through. And I don't know if it's grants or just talking to people. I'm not sure how it's done. So I'm just kind of presenting it as a topic. I'd love to hear what other people think about it.
I think that's a great idea. I think the biggest challenge is going to be being a state road. The two problem spots are going to be the bridge. They would almost have to rebuild the entire bridge. I don't think they would just extend it, but I could be wrong. The other problem spot would be on the Lake Placid side of Timmy Devon, there are two large culverts right there, I believe, that would have to extend as well. But the rest of it would probably be, but it's a state, so that's the battle, is the interstate road.
Well, we
We're
have,
just trying to get its speed limits changed on the state road is, I mean, you guys, we talked about this last night, it's next to impossible.
And that's a town road.
And that's a town road, not let alone a state road.
well, we do have the sidewalk on 86 for half of it already.
Well, I agree, it's a sidewalk to nowhere.
So, yeah, the sidewalk
Yeah.
to the camping ground, and it might take, a little, do it in segments or something like that. You hit it right on the head, though. The hard part is getting across the river. However, I really believe that is our gem of who we are in Wilmington, that is a untapped resource. If you ever been down there at the flume, and I could see a pedestrian bridge made out of cables and blah, blah, blah. It's not changing the bridge at all.
And it was separate, you're talking.
Separate, but
So you have to
that
go
wouldn't
down
be
to the right
cheap.
side, yeah.
That's $1 million bridge, but everybody would want to come here because you do the walk. Because the property right up the road is worth $9 million on the sale, on the market right now, and all they do is walk you along the bridge, along the river. This is going to take you across it all the way around the block. And, I just think it's a free attraction, and it will attract people, give them something to do here, another thing to do, and it would pump up the local business, I believe.
That area is so volatile in the summer, and it should have been done a long time ago to have some sort of pedestrian area for that crossing, because you go through there. I mean, it's 55, probably 65. People are going through there. It's very dangerous, especially during the summertime.
Absolutely. It's 60 miles an hour. As you're taking a picture, this truck is going right by your, But so you would probably use public safety to, try to get that part. But before we get to that, which is the more expensive and hard part, is we just got to finish the rest of the path, and I think that just takes some pushing. And I don't know if anybody else in the town is really going to advocate for that. It's not like it's a popular thing like that ice hockey rink or something like that, you can't. So
I got neighbors that like doing that route. They've talked about it.
I'm sure that
They
there
have
was a
friends
buy-in.
come from out, they do the loop.
Yeah.
They call it the loop.
I call it the Wilmington line.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there would be buy-in. I'm sure there would be people appreciating it,
Right.
utilizing it.
Maybe the whole thing doesn't need to be sidewalk. Maybe we could just think of it more like what happened with, like Fox Farm Road, where we extended.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It just has to continue. It doesn't have to be a concrete sidewalk,
Right.
It might.
A bike lane.
Yeah, a bike lane is a better way to.
Well, I'd urge you, I live on that road, I'd urge you to walk up and down that path. What I'd urge you to do is go on there right after a snowstorm and actually see where the tire tracks are.
Oh, no, that is really funny.
No, it's not funny.
Well,
No, there's nothing funny about
Well,
it,
okay.
because you have to walk and look behind you in fear of getting run over from a car that's driving down
Right,
the multi-use walkway.
no,
There's nothing funny about it. The lanes are only 10 foot wide. They didn't make that road any wider. All they did was take the shoulder away.
right, they did.
So
They
it's a
didn't make it.
misconception that they made it wider. The lanes are only 10 foot wide.
No, I know what you're saying.
Cars-
I know.
So,
I know exactly what they
If it's
did.
not separated by a barrier, you're literally taking your life in your hands. We walk it all the time. I go on that every other day with my wife and the dogs. Look at where the cars drive. The cars drive right down the middle of that. just being said, if it's not separated, they won't do anything about the speed. The speed is 45 miles an hour down through there, or 40 miles an hour through there. The lanes are only 10 foot wide. Cars are driving down the middle of the thing.
Is it only in the winter or is it year round?
It's
Only
year round.
winter.
It's year round.
Well, then maybe we need to put little plastic.
They put them there and then they ran them over. They had them up there for a while, the little plastic things, and then they ran them over.
They've tried several things. The county wouldn't let them go any wider than what they went. That was why that wasn't changed. And to start with, when they started the sidewalks, the ones that he's talking about, Roy started that, and they wanted to go all the way around. The obstacles were unreal. But we could always try again.
It's just, the road is just not wide enough. There is no shoulder on the other side coming back this way. So it forces the cars off that lane. And when you're walking with your back to traffic going towards Fox Farm Road, you literally have to turn around. If you see a car coming this way at you, you have to turn around and look over your shoulder in fear of getting run over behind. I mean, I've been pulled over on a bicycle riding on that road, telling me that I needed to ride in the multi-use by the state police. Have pulled me over going this way and telling me that I'm riding on the wrong side of the road. I'm not riding on the wrong side of the road. I know what a bike lane is. That's not a bike lane, that's a multi-use. A bike lane is a lane dedicated for a bicycle and the travel lane of traffic. That's not a bike lane. I was gonna get a ticket for riding on the right-hand side of the road, going down the road, because I was not utilizing that path. It's dangerous on that path. It truly is. I mean, we use it all the time, but it is dangerous. I mean, I can respect it's walking on that path, it is dangerous. If you're going to do something, there has to be a separation from the travel lane.
Yeah, no, I hear
At 55, 60, 65 miles an hour with cars at flume and all that stuff that goes on. It's a challenge.
Can I just, I don't disagree with you. I think you're absolutely right. I would love to see some extra barrier of some kind added in for that added level of safety. But I just want to say, I also walk my dogs on Springfield Road pretty regularly. My house is a little further down though, where the multi-use lane doesn't exist.
Sure.
And I feel a lot more comfortable when I get to the section where that lane does exist than where it doesn't exist on Springfield. So I think it adds a little bit of protection, but yeah, I don't disagree that adding more would, it would be nice.
Look at where the tire tracks are when you go down the road.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
I only use the term bike lane because that's what I believe that the town refers to it as, but that was just the terminology. I don't.
Yeah, if you looked at the actual definition of a bike lane, the bike lane is the one with the little bicycle in it. It's actually in the vehicle traffic lane, but it's off to the edge. It's not. That's what they call a multi-use path or something. It's not a true dedicated bike lane. A bike lane would be on both sides of the road in the same direction that the vehicle is traveling, and it would be just a designated 2 feet wide or whatever it is with a little bicycle, which we don't have because there's nothing on that side. It's just the white line and then the ditch. I mean, there's only inches past the. But anyway, I like your idea.
You might get hit.
I'm going to hit you. I know you will.
The Forge did a project that goes, I think, almost to Inlet, and that's a state road. And it's a beautiful path. So you just need to reach out to other places that have done it.
Where is that?
Old Forge. It's not connected to the road, it's not paved, and it's not concrete, it's just like that gravel, like they did with the rail trail.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of money that they've put into the rail trail, it's,
And
I can't imagine there's not funding for something like this.
It seems like within the last 10 or 15 years, I've lost track of time, we voted as a state to allow projects along the road without it going through the APA. You know what I'm talking about? There was what they call it, proposition.
Yeah, I do. It was like a land swap because it was so arduous that anytime a town in the Adirondacks wanted to expand their road or bike lane or sidewalk or that type of thing, they would have to have like a constitutional amendment if that went through the forest preserve. So it was to streamline that and just, when the towns need to do that or want to do that, they need to swap out or swap with the state an equivalent amount of land to be added to the forest preserve, I believe. But it was, obviously, I don't remember it perfectly, but that's what I remember of it. The thing, doing a trail that's not part of the road, it's going through a lot of private properties, and I'm not sure how that would work.
A lot of that property. The state owns 15 feet off the road or something.
Right,
like that.
there's the right to,
Okay,
Divided from the center.
yeah, I can't remember the distance.
15 feet.
They own quite a bit of the edge of the road.
mhm,
Usually
that's
to the
true,
power line.
that's true. I thought you were talking about, like a trail farther from the road.
No, just to be off of the road, but along the road.
Got it, okay,
And that's what Old Fords do.
got it.
If the gravel or wood chips or something like that sounds better than actually sidewalk type thing. And then you would stop the idea of somebody actually driving their car on it.
Yeah, when I say sidewalk, I'm not really referring to a concrete
Right.
pad. I'm referring to just a lane, a path that somebody in a stroller or a bike could take all the way around.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be a, Debbie Downer about the whole thing. The rail trail is really good. It's a nice thing because it's separated from the road and it's safe. There's times that this road is just not safe. It's just, I'm not just bringing that to the point, but it's just being connected with cars going up and down, albeit safer than walking on Springfield Road farther down where there is no pedestrian walk. This is by no means 100% safe. It's far from that. And if you could do it where it wasn't connected to the cars, and obviously there was a break of natural barrier or whatever the case may be, it would obviously be way safer than what we have here. And again, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, just bringing to light that it's obvious by looking at the tire tracks where the cars drive. It's just they're forced over there because the lanes are narrow. Yeah, so having it off of a road where it's not joined is.
But it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. If you're spearheading the project, Rich, if you're gonna do it, I have full faith in you to do it.
Just tell me when you're walking.
No, I know, I think you're right.
Your guess is something?
John,
Are we ready to move on to another subject? I mean,
you think so?
okay. I was here last night and we talked about the affordable housing. And I think some of the stuff, I have the sheet in front of me, but it seemed like we were picking on the manufactured homes. And section 4 says, amended to require site plan review of all new manufactured homes. Does any other home have to get a site plan review? That seems they ought to be both. I mean, I'm not, I could point out a house in the town, but I don't want to do that because that person may be here and they're probably bigger than me, but, it seems the stuff should apply to both. That's what
I
I'm
believe
saying.
it does. I believe you have to submit a site plan when you fill out a building permit,
Okay.
but I could be mistaken. I know the last few I've done, I've had to submit a site plan.
That goes to the code enforcement officer, but it doesn't go through the planning board.
That's
So,
So does this mean it has to go through the planning board?
so I'll explain what all this is. None of that language was in the original draft of these amendments to the zoning code that Laura wrote. I added them because I was warned that these amendments would be controversial. Because I had said, well, I don't think this will be controversial, but then again, I always think that, and it seems like that doesn't seem to be the case. And I was warned that this would be controversial. As Darren was saying last night, our zoning code now really segregates between manufactured housing and stick-built homes. And it makes it much harder to put in manufactured housing for the reasons that, Darren was stating and alluding to last night. Do I agree with any of that? Not really. Am I sympathetic to it? I suppose. I guess I'm sympathetic to it. Ultimately, I agree with Laura that the housing crisis is so important that whatever the justifications are for trying to limit the addition of manufactured homes, they're outweighed by the severity of the housing shortage. So, but the reason that the section you're talking about is in there is just trying to make these amendments more palatable to the people who feel that manufactured homes make the town look bad, decrease the value of their neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm not the world's biggest proponent of that subsection of that amendment. I put it in there to try to relieve some of the concerns that a different segment of the community would have.
But isn't a manufactured home gonna look just as good as a stick home? We're not talking about a trailer built in 1950 or
No.
something.
It could be a trailer built in 1950.
No,
Actually,
no.
No,
We've got a 10-year limit on it, and it could go up to 5. You're
15. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Meaning you couldn't buy a used trailer and put it on a lot. That's what
right.
it means.
Doug
Yeah, but-
is recommending we
Yeah, but-
put newer homes in. If they're going to put a manufactured home, it would have to be within a certain time frame. And I don't know if anyone's seen the newer, my double wide is from 2003. And the aesthetics and the appliances and the upgrades in them, they're literally turnkey, and they are far surpassing anything that I could even put in my house right now. So, they definitely have come a long way, even in that period of time. And compared to the 1970s, they're even above and beyond that. And yeah, so that they're, and the aesthetics is totally subjective to whoever it has that home, so, or whoever is the neighbor. So, I don't agree with, nobody, I don't think anybody else who's putting in a home has to check with their neighbors as far as, the color and the siding and the, like that kind of thing. So I don't know.
So I guess what I'm saying is it ought to be across the board.
That's what we were trying to do, just delete the 3-acre requirement. That was the original proposal.
Right, John, our current zoning code makes it very difficult, makes it arduous to put in a manufactured home in either the hamlet or the moderate intensity districts in town, which is a large percentage of the town. If you try to, as long as the lot is less than 3 acres, which moderate intensity is zoned 1 acre and the hamlet is zoned ½ acre to acre. So when people who own a 2-acre lot in the moderate intensity zoning district ask our code enforcement officer, can I put in a manufactured home? They're told no. Now they could go to the zoning board of appeals and try to get a variance, but they don't even know that that's an option. So just the conversation just stops there. So that's what we're trying to, our zoning code now makes it all but very difficult to put in a manufactured home in roughly half of the town, a large percentage of the town. And we are trying to delete that from the zoning code, essentially. And the other sections are just to try to reach out to the other side and alleviate their concerns, which I'm not sure if that will ever be successful, but I am trying.
Good job at appeasement.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
They didn't seem appeased yesterday, but I don't
My
know.
place is a 98 and it has 2x6 walls and it has vinyl siding and it has shingle roof. It's built like a stick-built place. It's not like a trailer. The first trailer that I had was a trailer. It had metal sides and it had a metal roof and a flat roof, and it was a trailer. But nowadays they are manufactured homes. They are nothing like a trailer. Any that I've seen, the newer models, a much different.
I think you can still buy like a single wide traditional trailer.
If you wanted to, you could, I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
believe so, yeah.
I mean, that's what mine is a single wide, 3-bedroom. It's, I believe it's 14 by 70. I mean, it's a good size.
Mhm.
But it looks
Well,
nothing,
it's,
to me, it looks nothing like a trailer, you
Yeah.
know?
It used to be 2x2 walls.
Right.
I own a trailer. My
Mhm.
son lives in one. I mean, the 1968 single wide.
I know, I lived in one of them things too, and you could feel the,
Like they-
in the winter, you could feel the, coming right through the
Yeah, he
outlets.
dumped antifreeze in his
Oh,
tub
yeah.
for his bed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot. But you gotta start somewhere, right?
That's right.
Totally, that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trying to give people, I mean, my son's 21, he's gonna be a New York State Trooper, and I can't, I mean, even with that salary, I can't imagine that he would be able to buy anything. It is just mind-boggling how inflation and how prices of properties and getting, starting out as a young person, it's so night and day compared to when I was young.
Mhm. I think the mindset for people too, when you talk modular or mobile home, they're thinking this 1968 single wide trailer. That's what's in people's heads. So they're envisioning trailer parks and that kind of stuff. So I guess to help, you got to get people out of that mindset and show them the difference.
What would be the chances of getting the acreage changed so they could put something on a single acre in both the 2-acre lots and the 3-acre lots? That would be
We're going to do it.
Good.
I mean, 4 members of the town board support it,
good,
so.
because I think a lot of
Unless-
people would help their kids have a
Unless
place
2
to
people
live.
really change their minds, it's going to happen.
Good to hear.
I don't plan on changing my mind, and I'm pretty sure Laura's not gonna change her
Well, when they
mind.
did
so.
the 911 numbers, like mine is an acre, just a little over an acre. It was grandfathered in. Around me, it's all 3-acre lots. But I have 2 911 numbers. They assign one to you and the other is for the future when we grow enough that they're expecting us to have 1/2-acre lots, even out there. So, I think going with acre lots would be a good idea.
I did leave last night's meeting a little hot and spent about 4 hours doing a research project on this topic. There was talk about not being able to get a loan or mortgage for a manufactured home, which that is incorrect. There are riders on traditional mortgages that you can get for manufactured homes. And I just reached out to one bank. I reached out to Community Bank, and they do traditional mortgages for manufactured homes. You have to put 5% down. Fannie Mae also does that. There's New York State has loan options. And then in December of 2025, Governor Hochul signed a bill which is allowing more leniency and affordability ways to get financing for manufactured homes. And it would allow for them to, there are some caveats, and I don't disagree with these restrictions. I'm speaking out of my brain here, but you can double check me. But I believe it would have to be a double wide or bigger, not a single wide. It would have to be permanently fixed to the property on a full foundation. So it is not a movable piece. So that would, the person, so technically a manufactured home gets a title from the DMV, and that title would have to be relinquished at the time that they are saying that they are going to be classifying it in that way. And then that would make it just as I think it's a 201 residential, because it's permanently fixed to the property rather than it being, and it is a manufactured home, but it would classify for assessments or for New York State classification, it would be a single residence. single-family residents. So there, that was December of this past year, and it just got signed by Hochul. So I believe that this is kind of keeping pace with what the state is seeing as what we need to, further the availability. And so that's just a little bit of a rabbit hole I went into last night, but I think that if you do some research on it, you'll find that there's some really incredible homes available and options for them, and it would be a way for people to have some sort of a home that they could afford, and that's not a fixer-upper. Not everybody knows how to fix things up, and you could get a house that's turnkey and has the cupboards and the curtains already in it.
Instantly there.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally.
There you go.
Yeah, I was
Move
7
in.
months pregnant. I walked into a brand new house. So.
Yeah. And there is loans available because the trailer sales in Plattsburgh, they wouldn't be selling them if they couldn't get a loan.
Yeah.
Everybody can't walk in there with $100,000 or whatever in their pocket and say, here you go.
It is difficult to get a loan on a older manufactured home that is not permanently affixed to it. So I'm not saying that it's absolutely possible to get a loan. I'm saying that it is more of a chance that you will be able to finance and get approval for a house that is manufactured if it is a new build, or putting something that's permanently affixed.
And sometimes it's just the price you're asking. The bank just isn't gonna touch it for that amount of money. They don't think it's worth it.
For those who have seen the draft of the local law, it does say now that this local law only applies to manufactured homes built after 2010. And as I said last night, if there's a segment of the community that wants us to go more recent, if they want us to push that number to a more recent number, I'm flexible on that. That's just 1 year. And the reason that this was done in 2013 was the thinking was we're a tourist resort. We're trying to upscale the town. We don't want as many trailers around. We don't want the trailers to be so visible. We're trying to take Wilmington in a different direction. Whether or not that argument, that train of thought was valid, it's out the window because we have a giant trailer park smack in the center of town. So I think that argument is shot to pieces.
So along that, I mean, that's what I only have 2 actual real questions other than
Okay.
my piss and moan about the bike path, but I actually had 2 questions.
Okay.
So I hear multiple times, I hear about screening and privacy, screening, natural screening, so on and so forth. And yet again tonight, we hear about the KOA trailer park. I mean, forgive my ignorance in the planning and the zoning because I've never been, but didn't that trailer park go through some sort of planning and zoning and got approved to be put there? So don't the people that are sitting on the planning and zoning board have the right to say, well, we're going to let you put your trailer park in. We just don't want to see the trailer park from the road. Can somebody
We
make a
asked for
stipulation?
trees, and they put in the trees, and then somehow everyone said, oh, that's sufficient. Which
Who
is
is
a-
it? Who is everybody?
I was appalled
Everybody hates the storage units. They despise the storage units.
as well.
Okay, so why didn't somebody say, we're gonna let you, Mr. Nice Guy that has the sign out there, we're gonna allow you to put up your storage units. We just don't want to see them from the road.
I think that's why we have a new board.
Thanks.
Well,
Thanks.
so,
Well, that was a planning board that did that.
that wasn't the
Yeah.
town, that was the planning. So who enforces and who does that type of stuff?
We appointed those people to the planning board, to the town board. That's why we have a new town board. In my opinion.
The original proposal for the KOA included a registration building, which would have blocked 75% or 50% of the view from the road. It would have been next to the dairy bar.
Sure.
And that would have taken down some of the visibility of the travel trailers. The only thing that I can say is that the hammered home point and the reason that there was any type of requirements was because the neighbors were asking for fencing between their property and setbacks for the KOA to put those into place. I don't believe there was anybody who said that they wanted screening from the road. Everything was on the sides of that park, of that KOA. So I don't think that I knew what it was going to look like. Anybody who looked at the plans, really looked at the plans, knew what that was going to look like. I really did, tried to get through to people that this is going to be totally visible. And it was very hard to have people come off of the thought of what it's going to affect the neighbors, but it's the visibility from 86 that is the most
appalling. I object to that. The most appalling is the backside,
so
the riverside.
Yeah, there was also
Where I live.
Well, that is kind of a competition, which is worse, right?
I guess everyone thinks it's the most appalling. depending on
it's
where
not
you live.
amazing on any side, but it did exist. It did happen. It was pushed through. It was meeting after meeting after meeting, and I don't believe anybody talked about what the view was going to be from the river or from 86. Everybody was, all of the complaints, and the only thing that got rectified or given, that there were any changes mandated in the proposal was that for the side screening. As far as the storage units, I do believe that there is missing somewhere in there some sort of screenage. Myself and Jerry and a couple other people think that there was a missing piece as far as like screening from the front of those storage units. We don't have recordings at that point, but I think that the berm and the setbacks were adjusted, and that was discussed as far as coming in from the Lake Placid side of 86. But, the visibility from the Wilmington side of 86 is where you really see it. So, and I thought that there was. I don't see it in the final recommendations from the code enforcement officer or from the minutes, but I do believe that there was hopes that there would have been. But I think that just gives us more of a reason to be very, and you can speak to this, you've been saying all along, we really need to have things black and white at those meetings. Like, this is what's going to happen. And the recordings of these meetings just gives us that much more to go back and say, no, this was said, or, there is some sort of accountability. That's, it's a flip side. It's a double-edged, however that is.
I mean, so we, or the planning board or the zoning board has the right to say, we're going to give you the, whatever it is to put the building, we just don't want it to be seen from the road. The planning board, we have the right, or they have the right to do that? I mean, we're making the rules, or they're making the rules? Is that something that's?
I'll address that. The short answer is yes. Yes is the answer. Longer is that's kind of buried in the code, and there have been members of these boards who are not aware that that's in the code. So these amendments that we're going to make kind of highlight it and put it in neon that they can do this. The current code does give them the authority to do it, but I believe that not just one member of one of these boards was unaware of that. I believe that, and then to Herb's point, these boards are appointed by the town board. I've heard a member of the planning board say after a meeting, well, we can't just tell someone what they can and can't do with their property, which is a fine perspective to have, but if that's your perspective, why are you on the planning board? Our zoning code's 170 pages of telling people what they can and can't do with their property. So I believe there were, I suppose I'll leave it there.
There's public hearings though. If you go to those public hearings, they're gonna listen to you. And people wait until after it's done to complain.
Can I say something else? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Speaking of that, the one person in town who did foresee that the KOA would be the debacle that it is Laura. And she sent a letter to the planning board, which was almost borderline mocked by a member of the planning board. It was not taken seriously. It was not well received. I also want to say that after a planning board meeting a few years ago, a member of the public said to me, I think I knew more about those plans than the people on the board did. It's like, I'm sure you did, because there are, without question, members of these boards who did never even, they were just there to vote yes.
I think three of us in this room have been on the planning board and zoning, or in that, when it was doubled up or separate. It is so hard, like, over time you find your voice, but it is really hard to say no and to try to, tell people what to do. In that, you're a volunteer, number one. You're always second guessing, like, maybe I'm not really understanding things. This is just my personal perspective, which I can imagine that there are other people that might have had that perspective. It's really hard to, try to tell somebody else what to do, especially a corporation. So, I think that probably plays into a lot of these decisions not being as forcefully spoken about, because it's a little daunting.
Well, I may be embarrassed to say, but I don't have a problem with the trailer park. It's KOA. I mean, I still am a firm believer it's their property. They should be able to do exactly what they want with it. I just hear everybody keep talking about the screening and the privacy and all that. I just was curious as why, for the people that have a problem with it, why there wasn't something done about it prior to the project being completed. I don't have a problem with it. It's their property. They should. I don't have a problem with storage units. Their storage units, it's like them or dislike them. I don't have a problem. But the people that do have a problem that are sitting on the planning board, why something wasn't done about it, rather than just keep moaning and groaning about it after the fact and it's already gone.
I totally agree. And it's a giant source of frustration to Laura and I that the people who complain the most, many of those people, one of them came to half of one meeting and said it just made him too mad. The people who complain so much, you can never get them to come to a meeting. But
right, and that's why I said I'm not complaining. It's their property; they should be able to do. I'm just wondering why the people that are complaining weren't spearheading something and saying we're making the laws. The planning board is making the rules. Why aren't we adhering to them? Whether Doug has to make them comply or
They did.
whomever.
They did.
Well, obviously they didn't, because everybody's driving by and seeing.
No, the
trailer
KOA
park.
followed exactly what they proposed.
Okay, well, then nobody really has anything to complain about.
Well, they cannot change it, is what I heard.
The final proposal is exactly what's there.
What's that?
The final proposal is exactly what's there.
They did.
Yep.
one could say that, I don't actually believe that this was intentional, but there was, just watching from the outside, there was kind of possibly the perception that they were kind of wearing the board down, because what was it, like 4 different plans? And then by the end, that place had been shut down for a year, 2 years.
Plus, yeah.
And so there was a lot of pressure on these board members to get this going for economic reasons. So if it had been the first plan they had seen, they probably possibly would have scrutinized it a little more closely than they did, but it was the 3rd or the 4th plan. And, but this town board does want to appoint members of the land use boards who are going to read the plans.
Don't they have to have a public hearing after every proposal when they change?
Yes, and as Laura said.
So again, you've got to go to the public hearings and make your voice heard.
Yes.
But the people that were speaking at public hearings were the neighbors, and they did get, they said that they joke, and I think it's probably true, that it was the most expensive fence in the history of fences. Like, that fence on the perimeter of the KOA was put in primarily because of the neighbors' concerns at the public hearing, and they were listened to. And there was going to be 4 cabins on the lakeside or the riverside corner, which are no longer, and the septic system was moved back away from the river and placed up at the 86 side. So there was a lot that did end up happening because of people's concerns, including the board members' concerns. But the 86 and riverside visibility is something that you cannot comprehend until it's done, and the trees that are there will grow. I mean, they're saplings, I get it, they're going to grow, but if there had been the registration building there, or if they had put in more vegetation or more screening, it probably would have been less of a topic. And I don't know if that's something that we could possibly do down the road, but that you're never, I saw what it was going to look like, but if that registration building had been there, it would have cut down on the, what you're seeing on that side, not 86 or not the river, but.
And I do, as Laura said, that was a good example of the board being receptive to people's concerns. I have seen our land use boards disregard the public's concerns. But in that case, they were very receptive, as was the KOA. So the neighboring property owners got what they got more or less what they didn't get what they wanted, because what they wanted was 50 feet of trees. But they were listened to, and there was movement in their direction. But the general public who are bothered by either the view from the road or the view from the top of Cobble Lookout or that type of thing, the smoke across the river, that voice was not heard at those meetings.
Was there a professional landscaper or landscape architect involved in those screening plans?
Yeah, they had an engineer, a couple engineers over the course of the proposals that submitted. I mean, they had diagrams, they had what types of trees would be going in, the placement of them on the spec sheet. You can see every single thing that, I think the trees that are there are literally like within a foot of where that they were on these plots. So,
There's only a couple of trees. That's
I know.
not screening.
I know it wasn't supposed to be screening.
I mean, you could screen that thing so you could not see it from the road.
So they took out all the trees because they had to put brand new septic in, and there were trees that were a liability to the property and to the neighboring neighbors. And then the trees that they put in will grow, but they were proposed. I could be. I don't think I'm wrong. Those plans are almost exactly what they have sitting there.
I think they got away with murder.
George.
I appreciate and agree with everyone's objection to what they're seeing and what the problem is. However, I also agree with Bill that if you buy a property, if there's no other parameters that you have to abide by, it's your property, you get to do what you want. So with the understanding that I may not understand the process, why can there not be a standard that applies to each and every encounter as opposed to redoing it each and every time?
There can be, and that's one of the zoning amendments we're trying to adopt with the 30-foot buffer of natural vegetation. Because at least that sets a floor, and this is only for commercial developments, but it sets a floor. And then the planning boards can go farther and require additional planting or fences, but at least that does set a uniform standard. And it's not just up to the board's discretion completely. And then oftentimes the board will not require anything because many of the board members are not positive they have the right to do that. Cliff, please.
So two follows, one with Laura. So when we were on it together originally, there wasn't a lot of people there. It was a planning and zoning board. You needed no experience, no education, nothing to be on this board. I had no training whatsoever and then was told I had a year, I think, or 2 years to take one simple class. That's nearly not enough to know what you're doing on that board. With the amount of people that are trying to be on the board now, why not develop a standard of a minimum education before they're even considered?
Not a bad idea.
That's the first question, just a statement.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
The follow-up question, I guess, with the screening thing, has anybody went to the KOA or the storage company and said, hey, we've got a lot of complaints. Would you consider adding more screening? I mean, the KOA is a multi-billion-dollar company. You would think they'd want to be involved with the community and do the right thing. A simple question, yes or no?
The answer is, as far as I know, has anyone gone to them and asked?
Like after the fact, like
Right. As far as I know, no. but I do plan on it.
Okay, good.
Yes.
When
I'm not super optimistic, but,
It can't hurt. It's-
right,
it's a good
that's right.
job.
I agree.
I think the best move after the fact, and I agree with you completely, I mean, they should know how the town feels about their development, and you said it is morphed into something that we didn't expect, you know, and all that stuff. But I think letting them know how we feel and offering them a chance to rectify it. But the point is, they got slammed in social media, what they did do, supposedly. Meaning, you get your big RV and you get to sit 10 feet next to somebody else's big RV and no trees or something. So I guess it looked really bad on, you know, whatever social media there is, and everybody was slamming the KOA. So you'd have to approach it like, we want to help you upgrade your place, and you've got to make it more natural and blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I'm with you on that.
It can't hurt us.
Pushing them.
Not to drag it out, but I would urge the board to look at the 30 feet of natural vegetation thing very seriously, because you can have 30 feet of natural vegetation that you can stare right through, which offers you no break whatsoever. It could be 30 feet of natural hardwoods that don't have a limb 20 feet off the ground, 20 feet to the ground, and you could see clearly, and there would be no obscured view whatsoever. So 30 feet of natural vegetation, given what the natural vegetation is, could literally mean nothing.
And I think,
Added vegetation, if that was.
Year-round vegetation or whatever, to be non-visible 365 days out of the year, just seems like a simple thing to add.
You could enhance it with evergreen.
I think Tim did add, or you did add it for enhance,
I thought I saw
minimum
it.
of 30, or I can't remember the exact language, but.
That's,
Well, and that's the thing, who enforces the enhanced? You know, who determines whether enhanced is enough to make people not complain that it's a trailer park?
the planning board or the zoning board.
Yeah, when it's proposed, so they have to come to those meetings and put through their proposals.
But
for
after
those.
the fact, when it's all said and done.
Right, well, yeah, we did it.
Done.
That's right.
It would be
Oh,
done,
okay.
it would be
I
done,
This is what
it would be done.
it would be done.
When they,
These aren't enforcer, yeah. The
But they can
enforcer.
interpret it a different way and a different vision than Doug has.
Sure, yeah, we did enhance, that's enhanced. And then everybody's not happy because it looks like a trailer park because the enhanced natural vegetation isn't sufficient to block the trailer park.
Well, they don't have any, there's none.
Right.
There's no screening.
Right.
There's 4 saplings.
Right, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to alleviate problems 5 years down the road when somebody else builds something that nobody likes and they drive by and they say, well, why isn't there? Well, it's got 30 feet of natural vegetation, you can just look through it, that's all.
You know, what? Go ahead.
would you say that it should be more than 30 feet or?
Me personally, I like to say, I don't have a problem, but for the people
Okay.
that have a problem, it should be non-visible.
I think if it's 30 foot, I think you have to say upon approval of code enforcement that you've met this sufficient screening. I mean, you can show it whatever you want on paper till you look through it.
Right, right.
Someone at the end of the day has got to be the person to make that decision if it's enough or if it's not enough.
What about,
But it may be good enough for you, but it may be,
But not
I may
for you,
find
yeah.
it, I may
What
find the
about
trailer park
defining
unappealing.
screening a little bit better?
And,
Like what he was saying, it can't be visible.
Or qualifying,
365
define,
days
what
a
is it at 30 feet?
sure, again, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse,
I
just
don't
trying to
know.
alleviate confusion for somebody down the
Commercial
road
projects we
that,
want to do.
oh, well, I put up 30 feet.
Qualifying, define, that.
Yeah, that's valid.
I just bring it up for a topic of discussion, that's all.
It could easily be done, the screening with evergreen, double row, triple row, staggered.
mhm.
That's right.
You can't see through them when they're set up like that, and as they grow, they'll get even thicker.
Or you just put a berm, especially if you're dredging the river or the lake.
You gotta use all that
You
stuff.
gotta put the spoil someplace, and then put a berm all the way along it and vegetation.
I'm just trying to help people be happy down the road. Again, I like to say, I truly, I drive by that.
Everybody.
no, I don't have a problem with it. I drove by today and looked at it. It's like I drove right by and kept right on going. But to alleviate the confusion down the road for other people to be not happy with it.
You know, I think everything that we do, we learn something, and, you know, that was, I think, an eye-opening project. And it definitely has been the catalyst for Tim's proposal, well, his continued pushing of his thoughts from 4 years ago. I mean, this is, you know, even more of a reason for us to work hard to get things passed that do allow us to have, you know, take a page from the history book of what has happened over, you know, the course of even 5 years, and see that, you know, there should be some things in place that alleviate that from happening in the future, if that is something that the majority of the town would like to move forward with, which I think that has been proven by, you know, what has happened. But yeah.
And ultimately, if there's a plan approved by the planning board, you know, a plan's proposed and the planning board maybe makes 2 modifications to the plan, and then they approve it, and then the developer or company depart from that plan, that would be a code violation. That's a code enforcement issue. You know, in Doug's tenure, he hasn't had that happen. You know, as Laura said, what's happened to KOA is what our board approved, and I kind of did think that the storage units would be more screened. I attended those meetings, but it was kind of it was verbal, you know. Well, and it wasn't. It should have been in writing if that's what the planning board members really wanted. The sense was conveyed that they would not be that visible from the road. That was maybe the sense people had, but nothing was ever. It's not in the minutes of the meeting. The planning board needs to. These what's now called a special use permit. They used to be called conditional use permits, which is a much better name. And that's what you get from the planning board before you open your business. Conditional use permit, I think, is a much better name because the board can put conditions.
So just, again, forgive my ignorance, when this goes through the planning board and the planning board accepts it, that's where it ends, and then the project just goes, or does the town board have the final say over, so it's just the planning board, that's it, once they approve it, then it's done.
No, because if there are variances or setbacks or anything, so a use variance or an area variance associated with the project, it would go through the planning board first, and then it would also go through the zoning board of appeals.
But generally, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
The zoning board did not. Zoning boards tend not to meet very often because there aren't that many. It depends how many variance applications the town gets a year. But I think our zoning board only met maybe 3 times last year. But our planning board meets almost every month.
So the planning board can say yay or nay, and then if they say yes, it goes, right?
As long as there's no variances associated with it.
Yeah, because usually they've gotten their APA permits before they come to the planning board. So that, and the APA has limited jurisdiction in part of the town, in the center of town. So
They don't have any, I think EPA doesn't have any restriction or jurisdiction in the hamlet.
So it all rests on the planning board then, essentially. Unless there's variances, unless there's.
you know, there's the Department of Health, there's other agencies that can play a role, but basically as far as what is going to be built, yes, it's the planning board and the code enforcement officer.
I'm new to all of this. Is the planning board appointed?
Yes.
That gives me a little bit of question as to, the planning board is appointed by the town board. So, but the town board has nothing to say about what the planning board does.
By law, they can have nothing to say.
Okay,
It's an actual law that you
But-
have to
but
stay
the
separate
planning
for
board,
it if you're sitting there.
is the law that the planning board is appointed by the town board?
Yes,
If they're not, they are,
yes.
the way ours is set up, yes.
I don't-
Okay, But-
Okay,
you could have the education thing and all that, then you would be taking the best qualified,
how do you,
supposedly.
no, but the town board makes that decision.
Yes.
That's the
Right.
piece that just gives me a little rub here.
And they're volunteers.
Yes.
So volunteers, appointed, non-elected people make these decisions. That makes a great deal of sense to me. I mean, what am I missing?
What are you suggesting?
I'm just saying that stupid is as stupid does.
I think it's statewide though.
You don't want everybody running an election in town for every office that we have.
Right.
Yes, but how about approving what they do?
No. So that the town board, that's why it's important to take into account that the town board are the people who appoint those people, and putting people in the town board seats that can, represent what you have on your mind. And then when we make appointments, we're hopefully representing the people who put us in office as a town board member.
Or are you representing your agenda?
In other words, are they a minion?
Well, the previous board certainly were representing their agenda, and that's why you have the KOA across the river from your house.
Right. And I mean, I didn't go to meetings before this year, okay? And I can bitch about having to look at KOA, but I accept total responsibility for the fact that I wasn't here screening. But I didn't know what it was gonna look like either. And being relatively new to this area, I mean, we bought our house 10 years ago, but we've only been living here 6 years. And there is a feeling of when you come in, you're a newcomer and you don't know what you're talking about.
I've been here since 1978 and I still get it. So it's
So,
all
I
good.
If my
Don't feel
name
like you're
is
being annihilated or
this
anything.
family or that family or that family, the 4 families or the 6 families, okay? Or, yeah, okay, then who the hell are you? So there's a feeling of that too. And I think it's things like, I really liked, Tim, that you're sending emails with agendas and so on and so forth, and reminding people about town halls via email. Okay, didn't get any of this before, so I had no idea what was going on, but that's my responsibility, okay? And I accept that totally. But now I'm here and I want to figure out how this works. So if I'm gonna bitch, I can feel like my criticisms are legitimate. Not just bitching because I gotta look at the KOA, which I can't do anything about.
I would just say, it's not, maybe it's not necessarily that, you've only lived here a certain number of years and you don't understand. I think as what we've been talking about for the past 40 minutes shows, or for the past hour and a half, like a lot of the stuff is really complicated, and people who have lived there their whole lives don't know about it or are only vaguely aware of it. People on the planning board don't necessarily know, are not that familiar with the zoning code. So, and it's 170 pages. So is it fair to expect them to be? They're only volunteers.
It is
So,
a thankless job. I
Right.
mean, it's really, you are put under a microscope. You're sitting at a table, you're trying to review the plans. There's a lot of moving parts. You sometimes have to be put as a lead agency for a request for a review from the APA or from the DEC. There's so much that falls on these volunteers, and coming from having been on that board, I can't, yes, I understand where you're coming from, George, but what we're asking of them is a lot for what that they are doing. And it is something that most of the people who, these positions, we have had many requests for people who want to be on these boards. We put new people into these spots because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have representation of what we believe are the townspeople who put us in office. We're trying to put people in office, people in appointed positions that are representing what we believe. That is our job, is to represent the people who voted for us, and not, you know, we're up here,
I think
being-
your job is to represent everyone,
Everyone, not just
not those who voted.
right?
Best interest of Wilmington.
What that you are campaigning for and what that you have said are what that puts you there. So, you know, trying to put people that are representing those things is really, I mean, that's you in your seat are representing your town, yes, of course, but also what you have been saying and what your gut is really. I mean, what that you want for the town as well, because that's what you hopefully said truthfully while that you were campaigning.
As long as you're leading and not ruling.
I just wanted to take us down briefly, memory lane a little bit. I came to the planning board after the KOA was already done. And I remember I argued for us to have the KOA in a meeting where they could hear our voices and our concerns. And I got flack from the board at that time. And even when we finally did get that meeting, we had people saying, I don't understand why we're here. What do you want us to say? And we were asking for more, you know, arguing exactly what we were talking about here, and really was just ignored. And the KOA said, we're fine with what's there. And we even had some dick on the board say, well, you did a really nice job with the lawn. I mean, it's just really, I was appalled. And I think that is, I don't think that we can, I think that if we ask the KOA to come back and address how ugly it is, they'll just say, that's the way that it is.
You could ask them questions, but they didn't have to necessarily answer you.
Right.
KOA didn't have to answer. If they didn't feel that they needed to answer any questions, they didn't have to give you any answer, which made no sense, but that's how it was.
It did change hands from one proposal company and one engineer to another between the two proposals, and the final proposal was from a totally separate company and group, right? I mean, the administrator of the KOA, I think, was a different person too, if I'm not mistaken, than the original few proposals.
Well, they come in and tore everything down, every building in sight. I mean, on Fox Farm and 86, leveled everything.
Right, and then we had that bullshit about they're gonna be on the same footprint.
Yeah.
It was comical because it was a revolving carousel of characters who were attending these meetings as the KOA's representatives. And the current, you know, one person would present one set of plans and planning board would say, oh, that looks pretty good. And then 6 months later, a completely different person would come and the planning board would say, why is this different? And they would, I don't know what the old plan said. So it was, and it went on for 2 years. But like I said, I think there was a sense among some of the board members and the public that because this enterprise brings so many people to town, we need to get this going. Yeah, there was a sense of, we shouldn't look at this too closely. We shouldn't put up, it's been 2 years. We shouldn't put up any hurt.
Some great loss.
What's that?
I mean, that was the thing that amazed me, as though we would face some great loss by them being delayed.
I will also say that I do agree with you, Carol. I do remember that meeting where you had asked, and maybe Randy had asked as well, I think, can they come back and talk to us? And, you know, at that meeting, the board members who wanted that were being undermined by other members of your board as that was going on and saying people were basically saying without coming out and saying, or maybe just coming out and saying, this is all a big waste of time. Why are these people here? And in turn, the KOA representative seemed irritated to be there.
Yeah.
So that person certainly didn't seem like he was going to add any additional screening, but it was kind of a fiasco. But possibly the current planning board could ask them to come back.
But if we're making the rules that say that it can't be visible from the road, how can they not but comply?
Because this only applies to future projects.
I get it, but I guess I'm talking about moving forward from this point,
Okay.
putting in whatever wording it takes
Oh, yeah,
to alleviate any confusion down the road that your project must not be visible.
Right.
365 days out of the year, it doesn't matter, spring, fall, or autumn, winter, that cannot be visible from the road. You either want to put your project there, your trailer park, your storage unit, we're fine with it, it just can't be visible from the road. It seems to me it would be such a simple thing if we, the town board and or the planning board has the authority to do that. And these people want to have their projects.
Well, the amendment's going through, right?
Yes.
Okay, so good to go.
Well, it's, as Bill said, and I mean, I think we.
But it's 30 feet of natural screening, which again, or
What does that mean?
or whose determination is going to be what is adequate. You're going to put that on Doug to make sure that Doug.
No, it's on the planning board. That's why they used to be called conditional use permits. So it's a condition. But this does get to the conversation we've been having where one of the things we really said when we were running for office is we're going to put people on these boards who are really going to read the zoning code and really going to apply the zoning code and not be a rubber stamp to just approve things as quickly as they can possibly be approved.
But if the code isn't there, they're not going to be able to apply it, correct?
Well, the code is there, but the code, there's definitely discretion. You know, the planning board can, as you said initially, they can require screening with our current code, but they don't have to.
But if people are going to moan and groan about seeing a trailer park, wouldn't it be easier to mandate that in the beginning rather than have people complaining about seeing a trailer park? It's just simple wording that you are the bosses and people are going to adhere to whatever or they're not going to. It just seems simple wording to me, but I'm not the educated person behind any desk. I'm just not sure how 30 feet of natural and or added vegetation, unless it's put in black and white that says it's not visible 365 days out of the year, I don't know how it can be determined to be anything but that. It would have to be worded like that.
Exactly.
Um,
That's where you accept, if the planning board accepts the plans or dictates that. They don't have to accept the plans, right?
Right, they don't have to approve them. That's right. Yes. Yep. Right. So we've been saying since last summer, last spring, we want to appoint people who are comfortable with their role and comfortable, kind of, as Laura said, kind of being assertive and are not just so easily cowed.
But also certain people that don't have a specific agenda. You should have people from both sides that see things from a different perspective.
We definitely, I mean, it's a pretty diverse.
Yeah, we have a diverse.
It's a diverse planning board at this point. I would say it's pretty well balanced, very well balanced. Yeah. Yep.
And I think what Bill's talking about is a standard, not a case by case basis.
Mm-hmm.
You can appeal, the standard and say, this is a special circumstance, would you consider this?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like it would take the pressure off the planning board of
Right.
potentially being worn down after multiple applications submitted.
Absolutely.
And just being like, all right, we're done with this, just send the freaking thing through when it says.
Right.
And I didn't mean to make this drag out. It's just, I'm just trying to.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah,
It's okay.
I mean, it just seems like in wording, it could be done and taken care of, and it could take the planning board and everybody out of the mix if the 30 feet of natural screening was worded in such a fact that during 4 seasons of winter of Wilmington weather, the project would not be visible from Route 86 in either direction traveling north, south, east, or west.
I agree with Bill, but another thing is, maybe we should work a little harder on advertising when there's a public hearing.
Yeah.
Because the people that are sitting there are gonna listen to the people that are sitting out here, especially if a lot of them show up.
I just have to, I'm just sorry, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to help everybody else that has a problem. I don't have a problem with it. I am just trying to.
But you're right, to
potential
put that in
problems
there
down
to
the
start with, and then advertise public hearings better. I know they're advertised, but not the same way that we advertise a town meeting or anything like that. It's not advertised as much as that stuff is. Maybe advertise it more so the people that care about what's going on, that don't want to see it happen, they go to the meeting, they will be able to do something about it, because the people sitting there are gonna listen.
We do have, so any time that a piece of property or a project is having a public hearing, there is a brown stake that is put out front of the property. Maybe we could work on making that more visible. And
Or just explain to people what it is, because a lot of
Right.
people have no idea. They
And
just
they're not
sign
gonna
it.
stop to read it.
Let's do
maybe we could
something.
change the color or make it more visible. I think that would at least maybe get some more eyes on, and, putting a property number, sure, I mean, I've Googled all of them to find out exactly where it is, but most of us are driving around this, it's not a big town. I mean, most of us are driving these roads and we'll see this more visibly if we can make it more visible. Probably allow for more people to have an idea that it's happening. And they do by law have to contact their neighbor a certain number of distance from their property.
One idea I would like to go forward with in the near future is, that number now is 500 feet or 300 feet. It's not a very large number. I'd like to make that number large, really consider doubling that number, or at least going up a few hundred feet, because it's not, you have to notify the property owners within, I want to say 500 feet, but it could be lower than that. It seems like it should be higher than 500 feet. Right. Yeah, and don't quote, much like the members of the planning board, I've been decrying. I don't have the zoning code memorized myself, so I'm not sure what that number is. But the last time I looked at it, I thought it was too low.
I'm with you.
Yep.
All right, sorry to drag, I only have one other question. During a regular town board meeting, when can somebody in the audience talk?
Good question. Well, we've been allowing people to raise their hands and be recognized.
Okay, all throughout, like during committee reports, like if I had a question when Laura was giving her committee report, am I allowed to raise a hand and question? Maybe she said something informative that I'd like to, I don't want to get scolded and have the hammer banged at me because I asked a question. I'm not sure if you're supposed to leave that till the end or exactly how we're supposed to do that.
I yelled at my own sister yesterday.
Well, I know, I don't want to be that guy. I'm trying to Rich knows me. I try to be nice to everybody. So, no, when do you?
I know, I don't even know.
Okay, well, good, then I don't feel bad asking.
He's the one driving the bus, so
Right,
he's
well, I don't
allowed
feel
to
bad
say,
asking the
right?
question, and I
That's your
just-
job, is to dictate who speaks when, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There was a planning board meeting about the storage units where free for all is the right word, where everyone was there was no organization or order. Everyone was just saying whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. Ultimately, they just tabled it because it was so chaotic. And then no one came to the next meeting and they just approved it. So, it's a happy memory. But, we've had, as you know, we've had some meetings that were kind of chaotic, and that's what I've been trying to get away from. Also, the previous supervisor really played favorites with who could talk when. We had members of the public who would derail a meeting, and they were not chastised. But if Nancy or Pat tried to say something, they would be chastised. So I'm consciously trying to be more even-handed. It's a hard balance, because when you have 14 things on the agenda, you don't want to go down every rabbit hole and go on every member of the public's tangent, because Dawn's been here since 8 a.m., right? And we don't want these meetings to go till 9.
I've been here since 10.
She's only been here since 10.
Yeah.
But,
No, it's not right.
Only been here since
That's
10.
hours, I'm part-time. Part-time.
Well, I just,
supposed to
don't want to be
go
scolded if I ask a question, or, and feel like there should be a uniformity in when, or how someone gets to ask a question, that's all.
Right. Generally, over the years, past 4 years, the work sessions have been much more casual. And that there has been a dialogue between the public and the board during the work sessions, because there's generally like 1 to 6 members of the public there. It's not 30 people. And we're not trying to pass resolutions at the work session. We're trying to discuss, like that's what the work session is for. I thought that our conversation at the last work session was very good about emergency services and natural disasters. My sense is that is the really time for the dialogue. You know, a supervisor of a neighboring town told me, you know, these town board meetings, regular monthly meetings, they're not meant to be a town hall forum. That's not what they are. They're for the town board to do its work in public, observed by the public.
Fair enough.
People think that they're a town hall forum, but that's not what they are. And if they are, then they're going to be either 3 hours or 4 hours, or we'll get through the first third of the agenda, you know, so, but I have been calling on people when they raise their hands.
Could you do a specific public comment time in just a minute? I've watched a lot of videos where someone has like 3 minutes and you're done.
Yep. You know, the thing was.
I get it, you get 2 hours in, I want to get them to walk out of here myself.
And the other thing was, I don't know if it was 4 months in a row. It was several meetings in a row where public comments is when it got crazy. Like that's when the audiences, people were walking out, audiences arguing, or public is arguing, it got hot between the board members. That's what I've been trying to avoid. So it's a hard thing to know how to exactly handle, but we're trying, and I think we have allowed public comment at every meeting but the first one, which I feel that the first one was mostly just boilerplate. And it was still what, over 2 hours. So
You have, I've just seen some ununiformity, I guess. So I was just trying to figure out what the uniformity is, you know, because sometimes it seems like it's okay, and then other times it seems like it's not. So I just was trying to get a sense of what is the board looking for, and when are they looking to get it and not get it. That's all.
More at the work sessions, it's tough when we've got 13 things on the agenda and there's 6 people in the audience who want to talk when we're on the second agenda item.
Okay.
But I'm not saying I will never call on people. I'm just saying that we're trying not to keep Dawn here. We're trying to get through the meeting in like 2 hours and try to accomplish some things.
It's not just me.
Sure,
want to go home too.
Everyone.
You want to go home too.
George,
Yeah, along the same lines, could you just clarify some wording for me? In the resolution, it says the chair shall preserve order and shall decide all questions of order. What does that mean, shall decide all questions of order?
I think
I just don't understand it.
that's been what we've been talking about, like
Well,
shall.
I'm trying to clarify. We may be talking about it, but I'm trying to put it all together in my head. That shall decide all questions of order. Just what does that phrase mean?
Well,
It's the chief.
Isn't it referring to the parliamentary procedure? Is that what that refers to?
No,
I mean, order, it can mean 2 different things, right? It can mean Robert's Rules of Order, right? It can mean that. That can also mean order as a normal person would think of it. Like as I've been saying, I don't want the meetings to be a free-for-all. I am trying to keep them orderly.
But what do those words mean? Shall decide all questions of order. I just don't understand what the words mean.
Maybe it should be
I'm
order of
ignorant,
question.
I'm ignorant
Oh,
of what the
no,
words
no, no,
mean.
I think it's because there's 2 definitions of the word order. One is order, I'm telling you what to do, and the other order is, these things are going along orderly, right?
And
And I think
able
that's
It's
to-
just he's gonna keep things in order. That's-
Right, so that is,
Well, I would like him to answer this,
Oh.
not you to answer it.
all right.
Shall decide all questions of order. What does that mean?
I think
Just help me out.
right. I believe I interpret it as meaning rules of procedure, procedural questions. Does that make sense?
No, the conduct of
It's
the
the
meeting.
second definition of order, keeping order.
What's that?
The conduct.
The conduct of a meeting is a good, that's right, that's very good, yes. Thank you.
I didn't hear it.
The conduct of the meeting. That's synonym for rules of procedure, procedural questions, the manner in which the meeting is conducted.
Thank you.
You're
That answers
welcome.
the question.
Okay.
It's taken 4 weeks, but that answers the question.
You're welcome. Well, okay, please, John.
I'm just trying to understand the planning board can your board replace somebody?
We can, but there needs to be some sort of legal, they need to really be out of line. But the way to replace them, there has been a Wilmington resident who was, as going through Preston's files, I did see they did replace someone. And the file was pretty thick, the legal process through which you remove someone from the planning board.
And
But-
how long do they serve?
The way that you replace someone is, that's right, is you wait till the end of the term and then you, after the term expires, you don't reappoint them.
So is it like 1 year, 2 years?
I
How
think-
long is it?
Three,
Are they 3?
I think
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe all the ones we did at the start of the year were 3 years. I'm almost positive they were all 3-year terms. Yep.
When the board replaced the one person you're talking about, there's some sort of law in there that we would have had to reappoint him. It wasn't just a matter of not reappoint, that we would wait and we could he just wouldn't be reappointed. He came up with some legal thing that we couldn't, except the person would show up to a meeting and want them to go through everything for the last 3 meetings that they missed. So it was keeping anything from going forward. Because he didn't come to all the meetings like anybody sitting on a responsible board would. And he'd make them go through everything at that same meeting, which meant nothing got done because you can't get through 3 meetings in 1 meeting. And that's the reason the person was replaced.
One moment, please.
Laura's looking for the legal
There was something,
standard.
because Randy was no dummy, and he brought it to us and showed us.
Well, he
There was
was
a reason
removed,
we-
I believe, right?
He was removed in the end, yes.
Yes,
but
and the
we had
file
to
was
dance
like this
through-
thick. Yep.
Yeah, we had to jump through hoops
Mhm.
to get it done.
I've got the language. It says a planning board member may be removed only for cause and after a public hearing. This means that before the town board can remove a planning board member, it must hold an administrative type hearing and produce factual evidence substantiating just cause for removal. And that is, well, this is the old manual, but that's what I have for you.
I doubt it's changed much. That's pretty vague, but
Yeah, but,
Public hearing anyway.
yeah, it was a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff. Because the person did not want to leave,
Mhm.
but yet he didn't want to make every meeting either. And he was given the chance to be there for the meetings, you know? It wasn't just, they said, well, you missed 3 meetings, we're not gonna do it. It went on for quite a while. And he'd been on the planning board for quite a while. But it just got to be too much on everybody that was serving beside him.
is there one final question or? Don't ask during the regular monthly meeting. This is your chance. So,
Anybody?
okay, well. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
You can have it if you want.